Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the movie Becoming Jane. So before I head into my thoughts and feelings on the 2007 movie Becoming Jane, just a quick disclaimer. This video is probably going to have some spoilers, I suppose. Plus, it is based off of not based off of necessarily historical fact, because a lot of what's going on in this movie is kind of highly fictionalized, but it is still based off of Jane Austen, who was a real historical figure, obviously. So I don't consider history to be a spoiler. So I'm probably going to be heading into certain things that might seem more spoilery in this video. So if you have never seen this movie and you intend on watching it sometime here in the near future, you might just want to steer clear of this video and come back at a later point. But yeah, my thoughts and feelings on the 2007 movie Becoming Jane, you guys. Seriously, I remember this movie coming out way back in 2007, and I was just absolutely dying to watch this movie, and I just never got around to it. Unfortunately, I just could never get anybody to go to the theater with me to go see this movie. And yeah, I was in college at the time, and yeah, I remember even some of my classmates, we were all talking about this movie, and like, we were all like, oh, hey, let's all get together and go see this movie, because we were all like English majors together, and we all loved Jane Austen together, and we kept talking about we would go see this movie, and yeah, we never hooked up to go see this movie. And yeah, I could get nobody in my family to see this movie with me. Yeah, James McAvoy is in this movie, and I love James McAvoy, and I wanted to see it for him. But yeah, so yeah, I finally, here in the year of 2025, I finally got around to watching Becoming Jane, which I have been trying to watch for a very long time now. So these are some of the basics that you need to know about this movie. It's a 2-hour movie, like right at exactly 2 hours, and it was directed by Julian Gerald, I think is how his last name is pronounced. And this is the plot. It follows Jane Austen as she aspires to be a writer and finds herself falling in love with the inappropriate Tom Lefroy. Ooh, scandalous. And like I mentioned pretty quick at the top of this review, even though this is based off of some true history following writer Jane Austen, like when she was a young woman and whatnot, and she did really know a man named Tom Lefroy, and there did seem to be some sort of connection there, but that's kind of just about it that we know in regards to their relationship. Just, I think some of the kind of small letters that we have where he is mentioned, we know that this guy existed and he was in Jane's life, and it did seem like she had an infatuation with him, but yet it never went anywhere, obviously. So yeah, you know exactly where this movie is going to end. It's not going to have a happy ending, unfortunately. You know, compared to Jane Austen's books, because all of her books have nice happy endings, this movie does not have a happy ending. So yeah, even though this is based off of true things to some extent, it is still all very highly fictionalized. So yeah, when I say historical fiction, this is definitely historical fiction. And the movie, more than anything, it's a lot of just speculation. It's very high on the speculation about what the relationship could have been like. And I think this movie at times can go to extremes and do things that I feel like would be totally out of character with the image I have of Jane Austen in my head, you know? So yeah, there might be certain aspects of this movie that might grate on you a little bit, especially if you're like this diehard lover of Jane Austen. There might be certain aspects of this movie that will grate on you and kind of frustrate you, like, oh no, this would not have happened. No. So yeah, you have to approach this movie understanding that it's really highly speculative and really highly fictionalized and kind of over dramatic. I think over dramatic to the point of, you know, a lot of this would not have happened, you know. But it is just, you just have to go into this movie and kind of just expect it for what it is and kind of open yourself up to it and like it, you know. Because yeah, even though there was a lot about this movie, I was like, oh yeah, this didn't happen, this would not have happened, you know, I still found myself liking and enjoying the movie. I still really liked the casting. I liked how the movie looked overall. I really enjoyed like the hair and costuming. Yeah, it's your traditional period piece. You're going to get what you're going to get with it. You're going to expect what you're expecting with it. And what the movie I think is trying to do, it's trying to kind of give like this origin story, if you will, to Jane Austen's books. Because at the start of this movie, if I'm recalling correctly, yeah, I don't think she had anything actually published. You know, I don't think any of her big major books were published just yet at the start of this movie. I don't remember. So it's supposed to kind of be this explanation and this origin to how Jane Austen kind of really got going with her writing and the things that inspired her. I think especially like something like Pride and Prejudice, because there's a lot that's very similar to certain elements of Pride and Prejudice, for instance, and you definitely see, especially near the end of the movie, as you know, all the drama unfolds and Jane is writing and we're hearing snippets of Pride and Prejudice play out. And yeah, it's like all of the stuff that went down with Tom Lefroy is supposed to kind of be this parallel to things going on in Pride and Prejudice. But yeah, Pride and Prejudice has a nice happy ending compared to Jane's own personal romantic life. And not only is it supposed to be like this origin story to her books, but also kind of this whole thing of explaining, well, why was it that Jane never got married? Why was she single for the rest of her life? You know? And yeah, this movie is trying to kind of use this excuse like, oh, Jane, she wanted to be committed to her writing and she didn't want to be tied down with marriage and children, you know? And I think it's much deeper than that, you know? I think realistically, the real Jane Austen, I think it's much deeper than that she wanted to be so committed to her writing. I think there's just a lot more to it than that. And this movie is trying to kind of like pinpoint it down to something really specific, why she remained unmarried. Like I said, there was a lot about this movie that really worked for me. Hair, makeup, costuming, locations, just overall design and look. And like I said, even the casting, I really liked the casting of this movie. Anne Hathaway may be hit or miss with people, just depending on how you feel about Anne Hathaway, but I personally liked Anne Hathaway in this. And yeah, her accent, because she's doing a British accent, because she's American, obviously, she's doing a British accent, and it's passable. To me, it's very passable. I believed it to be a British accent. If I did have to give one major complaint to this movie, I kind of wish this movie didn't have like a 20-year like jump forward, a flash forward, if you will. I guess a spoiler here if you've never seen the end of the movie, but yeah, once the movie ends and Jane and Tom have their kind of their breakup essentially, because she learns some things about him and realizes he needs to be committed elsewhere and she can't be kind of that foil to him, I guess. And yeah, we have a flash forward that goes 20 years into the future, and I kind of didn't really like the flash forward. It's like I sort of did, but not really when I kind of thought about it. For starters, it's supposed to be 20 years into the future, and at this point, they both of their characters would be like, I guess they're very, very early 40s. And also too, I had to write this down in my notes, you know, Jane Austen died fairly young. She died when she was 41. So I think the idea you're supposed to get with the 20-year forward is that Jane is probably about to die in the next year or so, and you know, she's probably like 40 years old, and I think Tom Lefroy is supposed to be about that same range as well. And the thing is, like I said, we're jumping forward 20 years. They're supposed to be like in their early 40s, and why does the hair and makeup look so atrocious at the end? Why does Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy, why do they look so freaking old? Yeah, guys, and they're just like sitting right at their early 40s. It looked bad. It looked terrible. And the thing is, in real life, because think about it, you guys, Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy, I think right now, in real life, they're both like in their 40s. They certainly don't look like what they look like in the flash forward. And I found that kind of bizarre and amusing, because they do not look like that. But yeah, I personally didn't really like the 20-year flash forward. I could have done without it, to be quite honest. And just to highlight the cast really quickly, as I've already mentioned, we have Anne Hathaway playing Jane Austen herself. And as I said, I found her British accent to be passable. It was fine. I liked it. It didn't distract me. It never distracted me and took me out of it. I never heard like a hiccup. There was never a hiccup with the accent that I was like, oh wait. But I did. I really liked Anne Hathaway. I think she looked the part in her own way, probably overly glamorized. I think that's probably the thing. I feel like she was perhaps an overly glamorized version of Jane Austen, but I still liked her. And yeah, the Jane in this movie, she's outspoken in her own way, and she definitely has a nice sense of humor and playfulness, but a seriousness when she needs it. And yeah, she takes her responsibilities seriously. Yeah, playing Tom Lefroy, her love interest, we have the gorgeous James McAvoy. Yeah, guys, yes. Yeah, the character of Tom is kind of a he's kind of rather a spontaneous guy, and he likes to go to like do boxing matches and get himself dirty and bloody, and he doesn't really take things very seriously sometimes. And I think you kind of get the idea that he's kind of strapped for cash. Even though his father's wealthy, he's still a man strapped for cash. And yeah, I think he's prone to like gambling, especially with like the boxing matches and whatnot. Yeah, he almost seems kind of like this polar opposite to Jane at times. And then yeah, when he goes to her house and she's doing like a reading, he's over there like really bored, and he's yawning, and he doesn't appreciate her writing. So again, it's kind of like, oh, how are these two going to fall in love? But they do eventually. And it does. I feel like it just kind of happens out of nowhere. Seriously, I feel like it just kind of happens out of nowhere without much warning or anything. It's like 1 minute they're bickering and arguing, and then all of a sudden they're just madly in love and taking off and planning on getting married. It gets pretty crazy. We have Anna Maxwell Martin playing Cassandra Austen, sister to Jane Austen. I really liked what they did with Cassandra in this show, because they were showcasing a lot of her own dramas off to the side as well. Because yeah, Cassandra Austen at this time, she was about to get married, but then her intended died tragically before they even got married and whatnot. So yeah, the movie's kind of playing around with that story, which, by the way, if you want to go deeper into Cassandra Austen's life, there was recently, a couple months ago, a really great PBS miniseries called Miss Austen, and it was all about Cassandra Austen. So yeah, if you want more about Cassandra Austen, go check out Miss Austen, because it was pretty good. Yeah, playing the Austens, the mom and dad, we have Julie Walters and James Cromwell. I really liked them. Yeah, the movie, like I said, this movie was kind of trying to do this thing of being like this origin story to Jane Austen's books, and yet very, very clearly Mr. and Mrs. Austen are supposed to be like the equivalent of like Mr. and Mrs. Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. Their personalities are like the exact same. And we also got Maggie Smith in this movie, the late great Maggie Smith. Oh my god. And she's playing Lady Gresham, and she's trying to hook her nephew up with Jane. But of course Jane doesn't want Lady Gresham's nephew. She wants James McAvoy. But yeah, that's pretty much all Maggie Smith's role is in this movie. And yeah, she's almost very obviously like someone like Lady Catherine de Bourgh from Pride and Prejudice. And then I do gotta give a quick shout out to Helen McCrory, the late great Helen McCrory. Yeah, guys, I'm still so upset that Helen McCrory died as young as she did. But yeah, Helen McCrory is playing writer Anne Radcliffe. And Anne Radcliffe, like I said, she was a writer during this time, and she was like known for a lot of her gothic fiction. And let me tell you, the use of Helen McCrory in this movie was criminal. She was so underused. She literally had about like 5 minutes of screen time, if even that. And really, her only role and function in this movie was because Jane goes to visit her at one point, and it almost seems like Anne Radcliffe, she's like kind of miserable and lonely, and it seems like she doesn't really have any sort of joy in her life or satisfaction with her life, even though she's a successful writer. I never really quite understand, but it's like they were trying to do this thing like Anne Radcliffe was having a difficult time balancing like her personal life with her marriage and her children, but also her writing life, and kind of trying to say to Jane, like, is this the type of life you want? Are you willing to kind of have both of these things and yet prioritize one over the other if you have to? Where are your commitments going to lie? And so, yeah, it's like the Anne Radcliffe character, it's like her role kind of just serves as that sort of function, like what Jane wants to ultimately do with her life. And yeah, once again, this movie being like this origin story to Jane Austen and kind of using this whole thing of Jane ending the Tom Lefroy relationship because she wants to be committed to her writing, you know. But yeah, again, Helen McCrory just so criminally underused in this movie. It was horrible. So yeah, that's pretty much it on my thoughts and feelings on Becoming Jane. I'm just glad I finally got around to watching this movie, because again, it came out way back in 2007 and I had been dying to watch it. So I'm glad I finally got around to it, and yeah, I did like it for what it was. I don't think it's the type of thing I will just revisit willingly, you know. I don't think I'll ever be in like this mood to be like, oh man, I feel like watching Becoming Jane right now, you know. I'm glad I watched it and enjoyed it for the one-time experience. Yeah, if you're someone and you like all things Jane Austen, you like Regency, you like historical fiction, this may or may not be your sort of thing. But yeah, that's it for my thoughts and feelings on Becoming Jane. In the comments below, have you guys seen this movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.